Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 with the Duramax motor in it. And we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the Roadmaster Direct-Connect Base Plate. Your base plate is going to be one of the main components that you're going to need in order to flat tow your vehicle down the road. The other four main components is going to be your tow bar, your braking system, your diode wiring, and your safety cables. Two other options that, or three really other options that a lot of people will go with. One of which is going to be a hitch extender that also will provide a drop. You need to get that tow bar within 3 inches of level from the front of your vehicle to the motorhome. Another one is going to be a charge line from the motorhome to your vehicle. That'll keep your battery charged while you're traveling down the road so that when you get to your campsite, you go to unhook and start your truck, it'll actually start. And the other one, the last one, is going to be a battery disconnect, which if you have the Duramax motor in your truck, you are going to have to use a battery disconnect. The base plate will also have your integrated safety cable tabs, so that all you have to do is just take your safety cables and connect directly to them. As far as the installation goes, this install is going to be pretty involved. If you're handy and you've got some tools at home, you can definitely get it accomplished or get it completed. I'd say the one frustrating thing with this particular install is that you have to take your grill off, you have to take this decorative piece here off, and you're gonna have to take your bumper off. But again, if you've got simple tools at home, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to get this done from your garage. But with that being said, let's go ahead and show you how to do it. To begin our installation, you'll want to take a T15 Torx bit, and we're going to get our hood release handle removed. Then we'll take a flathead screwdriver, and we need to get this plastic panel removed from up here because we need to get to some bolts that are holding our grill on. You just pop the pushpin fastener center out and then the base, and we're going to go along and do this for all of them surrounding the edge here. Then we're going to take this panel and just set it aside. Then you'll take a 10mm socket and remove these screws off the top of our grill. In each one of our wheel wells, we're going to have 6 of those T15 Torx bit screws that we'll have to take out. Now again, on both sides of our vehicle, we're going to have 3 7mm screws that are holding these two panels together. We need to reach up there behind. The screws are going to be going down through the panels. We just have to loosen them in order to get this panel to pop loose. You do not have to take them out. So the best way to do this is just feel up for where the bolt head is, then put your socket on top of it and get it loosened up. Now in your instructions, it's going to say to pop the white fasteners or the plastic fasteners loose on the inside. Well, first off, ours are black on the inside of this, but essentially all you need to do is get those 3 screws loose enough to where you can pull down on this panel a little bit, and those fasteners are holding the plastic bracket that this is clipped into. So we've got our seam taped off here. We don't want these pieces to potentially scratch each other. All you have to do is pull down on the fascia of the front bumper, and you'll reveal the little clips holding the bumper in. And you don't want to pull that whole that black plastic piece out, so we'll just reach in here with a trim panel tool and pop each one of these loose as we go up the fender. So these little tabs is where I was sticking the trim panel tool, and you just want to push it down in like this, because this black piece right here is what it's clipped into, and you just want to pop those clips and allow you to pull this out. And from here, once you have both sides released from the fender well here, we're going to go through, and all of these pieces are going to have their own clips. So you just want to work it slowly to pop each one of them loose. There you go. Once you get all of them removed, just this thin little trim piece here, you'll want to unplug each connector on each side of the vehicle. Just pop the little red tab, push down on the little black tab, and pull it out. Now we're going to set this aside in a safe place. Then we're going to have 3 10mm bolts that are holding the lower part of our grill in place. There's going to be one on each end and one in the middle. Now our grill is ready to come off. There's no more fasteners holding it in place. You just give it a little bit of a wiggle, and we're going to make sure that our top comes loose. There's a little prongs that are sticking in there, holding it to our metal up here. And we'll just want to very carefully pry it back. These end pieces are probably in their own fasteners, and they are. So you just want to pop these pieces here. They're very, very sensitive. You do not want to crack them, so be very careful when you're pulling them out. There we go. It looks like we have our washer fluid on the one side and a wiring harness on the other, so we'll have to get those removed. This little red tab, just need to pull back on it and unplug that connector. For this, we're just going to pinch in on both sides and pull out on it. Then we can set our grill in a safe place. Now we're going to be underneath our vehicle. Right about in this area, we're going to have two 10mm head bolts and one 15mm head bolt that we'll have to remove. We're going to do this on both sides. Your 15mm head bolt is going to be right in front of your tire. Underneath our air dam flap here, it's just a rubber flap. We're going to have 7 pushpin fasteners. Just take your screwdriver and pop the center out. There we go. You don't have to pop it out all the way usually. That one did. Then we'll just pop the base out. Once you get all 7 of those fasteners removed, we'll just pull this piece out and get it out of our way. There is going to be 3 of the fasteners on the driver's side and 4 on the passenger. If you have a diesel model with the small Duramax in it, we'll need to remove and unplug the block heater, which is this little harness right here. Just simply unplug it, and then that'll go with the bumper. And on the passenger side, we're going to have this big rectangular harness, and we'll want to pop that loose and unplug it. And then we'll pull our fastener up so that it's not connected anymore. And on each side, we're going to have an 18mm head bolt that we'll have to remove. These are tightened down pretty good, so just get yourself a wrench and pop them loose. And then before we remove them all the way, we'll get another set of hands to hold onto our bumper to help us take it off all the way. And we've got 2 more bolts, one on each side, down kind of in this hole. That's going to hold our bumper on with those other 2 bolts. Now with an extra set of hands, we've got Aiden here helping us. We're going to remove our last bolt and then get our bumper pulled off of here. We'll set this aside in a safe place. We will need to remove our recovery loop, these decorative fasteners. We just need to pop the Christmas tree fastener out from behind it. Pop that out, and these will slide right off. Now we need to take a marker and trace around these washers. This is how we're going to get everything realigned when we put everything back on. If you do not mark these, it is very difficult to get it realigned, so be sure to not forget this. Then we'll want to take a 15mm socket and loosen these. You don't have to remove them, you just want to loosen them up. We're just going to use a multi-tool in order to cut this out. Now we need to work on getting our toe loops removed. If you have the diesel model, you will want to take out these 2 7mm screws out of our air dam. We will be putting those back, but it just gives us a little bit more room to work. And then we'll need to take these 2 bolts out here. One of them is going to have a nut on the other side, and the other one isn't. This one that we're working on now does not have a bolt on the other side. It just has a threaded insert. So we'll run this one out, and then we'll have to get a second wrench on that nut side to get the other one out. Ooh. let's take this bolt out and set our toe loop to the side. And we'll take our base plate piece, slide it up into place. And you want to get your holes lined up down here on the bottom. We're gonna line it up, slide our bolt through. You're gonna want to take your long bolts that come in your kit. And you can notice we put some red Loctite on the end of it. You want to put that on all your hardware that we're putting in these arms. Now down here on this bottom one, before we put our bolt in place, we're going to take these spacers, and if it's a tight enough fit, you may have to pry out with a bar like we are here. Just pry out a little bit, shove that spacer up between our base plate end and the frame. And our last one's going to go down through here. On the end of each one of these bolts, we're going to go on with a flat washer, then a lock washer, and then your nut. I can tell you all three of these are they're in very tight quarters, so we're going to have to tighten and torque each one of them down from the bolt side, the bolt head side, which is not really desired, but you obviously can't get a torque wrench in there. So we're going to get our last piece of hardware in first before we do that. We have our handle nut here. We'll set it down inside of our opening. Then you're going to run your bolt, your shorter bolt that comes in your kit, with a lock washer first, slide it on the bolt, and then your flat washer. We're going to slide this up through our hole here on the bottom and get that threaded into the weld nut. Now we're going to take a 19mm socket and we're going to snug up that bottom bolt first. That kind of helps get everything aligned here. Then we'll come back and snug down the other three. Now if you find that when you slide this on in place and you try to get it tightened down and it's just not quite tightening down right, you do get a couple of shims in your kit. It's just because the factory frames have a varying size difference. So if it's very loose fitting, ours is pretty tight, but if yours is pretty loose fitting, go ahead and use these shims wherever needed. And for this wire sticking out here, if you just bend it back and forth, it eventually will just snap right off. Then we're going to come back with a torque wrench and torque all of our hardware down to the specifications in the instructions. Now we've marked out our areas from our safety chain loops that we're going to have to trim out. I'm just using the Dremel again, or the multi-tool again, to get these cut out. Then we're just going to come back with a razor blade, make a few minor cuts here to finish it off, and then we're going to clean up all this fuzzy stuff with our knife. Once we get everything tightened and torqued on our base plate, we're going to come back to our bolts here and get everything realigned the way that we had it before. Now we can put our bumper back up in place. We've got Matt to help us get ours loaded back up. Just make sure you line up those bolts, or those spots where our bolts need to go. Now that we've got our bumper back on, we've checked for fitment, everything here looks really, really good. What I'm going to do is, and what I recommend to you, is if you have any other flat toe components, go ahead and get those installed now before you put the grill and this decorative piece back on here, because it's going to make it much easier to run all your wiring down to the bumper. So we're going to wait to put all that stuff back on until we get all that done. But with that being said, that's going to do it for the installation. So whenever we get that done, we'll come back and show you the finished look. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the Roadmaster Direct-Connect Base Plate with removable tabs is right for you in your 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 1500.